미안해, 미지야, 미안해. 내가 미안해.
The Baeksang Arts Awards are almost here, coming this May 8th. And if you're a real K-drama fan, you know it's not just another awards night. For over 60 years, Baeksang has defined careers, rewritten reputations, and set the gold standard for what great acting actually looks like. And this year, the lineup is stacked. So who made the list, and more importantly, who actually deserves to win? Let's get into it. Let's start with the Best Actor nominees, and trust me, this category is not playing around this year. First up, Hyunbin in Made in Korea. The man who made the entire world fall for a North Korean army captain is back, and this time, he is not playing it safe, not even a little. He takes on Baek Ki-tae, a powerful KCIA chief in 1970s Korea. On the surface, he's polished, untouchable, the kind of man who walks into a room and instantly owns it without saying a word. But underneath all of that control, he's secretly running a smuggling empire, using political power and government access to keep climbing higher and higher. This is a gritty political crime thriller where no one is clean, and at the center is Ki-tae, locked in a brutal, high-stakes war with a prosecutor who refuses to be bought, scared, or broken. And Hyunbin? He is magnetic here. What he does with Ki-tae is genuinely impressive. The character is charismatic enough that you almost root for him, unpredictable enough that you never feel at ease watching him, and layered enough that you can't look away even at his worst. He carries quiet desperation underneath all that composure, ambition that's slowly rotting from the inside, and the way that tension bleeds through in small, controlled moments, rather than big, dramatic explosions, is exactly what makes this performance feel so dangerous and so real. This is Hyunbin fully breaking out of the leading man image that made him famous and stepping into something darker, riskier, and way more complex. Moving on, next up is Ryu Sung-ryong in The Dream Life of Mr. Kim.
형 나한테 이러지 마요. 나 허태환이랑 다르잖아. 일 잘했잖아. 아니 잘하잖아. 큰 것도 한 건 했잖아. 나 아직 쓸모있는 놈이라고.
Get ready to feel something you weren't expecting, because this one is going to hit you somewhere deeply personal. He plays Kim Nak-soo, a man who spent his entire career being the reliable one. Loyal company man for decades, devoted father, completely defined by being the steady provider that everyone around him could count on. On paper, his life looks like exactly what you're supposed to build. And then the world takes all of it away from him. What follows is a painfully real drama about middle age, about a generation of men who gave everything to a system that moved on without them, and about the terrifying question of who you are when the thing that defined you is suddenly gone. What Ryu Sung-ryong does with this role is something really special. He makes Nak-soo genuinely frustrating at times, stubborn, proud, slow to adapt, but so deeply human that you ache for him anyway, because you understand why he is the way he is. You see the exhaustion behind the pride. You see the cracks forming before he does. And the most devastating thing about this performance is that there are no big breakdown speeches to hide behind. This is exactly the kind of raw, quietly shattering work the Baeksang was made to reward. Coming in next, and this one got people talking, Ji-sung in The Judge Returns.
피고인 장태식에게 징역 10년 및 벌금 240억에 처한다. 피고인을 법정 구속한다.
Ji-sung at the Baeksang is not a surprise. Ji-sung for this performance, completely deserved and then some. He plays Lee Han-young, and here's what makes this character so compelling. He was never a good man who fell from grace. He was always part of the corruption. A judge serving powerful elites, delivering verdicts for the people who owned him, building a comfortable life on top of a system he helped keep rotten. Then he dies, wakes up in the past, and gets a second chance at everything. But let's be clear, this is not a simple redemption story, and that's exactly why it works. It's a high-stakes strategy thriller where Han-young has to use his knowledge of future events to dismantle the corrupt network he once served. But every change to the past creates new enemies, and every move risks an outcome worse than the one he already lived through. What Ji-sung does here is hold two completely opposing energies at the same time. The deep guilt of a man who knows exactly what he's done, and the razor-sharp calculation of someone who has to stay 3 steps ahead of everyone around him at all times. Every single decision he makes feels weighted. Every scene feels like it's balanced on a knife's edge. And the redemption arc, when it finally lands, feels genuinely earned in a way that most dramas only wish they could pull off. Up next, and if you haven't seen this yet, clear your schedule, Lee Jun-ho in Typhoon Family.
나 오주임님 좋아하는 것 같아요.
예?
지금 주임님 되게 더럽고 꾀지지한데 근데 이뻐요.
If you have been sleeping on Lee Jun-ho as an actor, this is your wake-up call. And it is loud. He plays Kang Tae-pung, a charming, carefree, gloriously unbothered young man living his absolute best life in 1990s Apgujeong. Privileged, a little immature, and absolutely not built to carry anything heavy. Then the 1997 IMF financial crisis tears through everything. His father dies, the family business is collapsing, and suddenly this guy, who never once had to be serious about anything, is the only person left to hold it all together. Here's what makes Jun-ho's performance stand apart from a typical transformation story. There is no single dramatic scene where he decides to become a different person. The shift is completely organic. You watch it happen in layers, the lightness slowly giving way, the weight accumulating in real time, the humor disappearing not because it's written out, but because the character earns its absence. He doesn't perform the growth, he lives it. And by the time he's fully carrying the drama on his shoulders, you've believed every single step that got him there. Every stumble, every small choice, every moment where he almost broke and didn't. And rounding out our Best Actor nominees, Park Jin-young in Our Unwritten Soul.
내 옆에 있어줄 빛이야. 같이 있어줘.
Okay, here's something you genuinely need to sit with for a second. Park Jin-young is the supporting male lead of this drama, not the main character. He received a Best Actor nomination anyway. Let that sink in. He plays Lee Ho-soo, a lawyer who presents himself to the world as calm, polished, and completely together. But underneath that composed surface, he's quietly carrying the grief of losing his father, partial hearing loss that adds this constant undercurrent of isolation to everything he does, and a deep, unspoken longing for a life that actually feels like his own, rather than just well-managed. He's not the focus of the story, and he never tries to be. And somehow, he becomes one of the most emotionally affecting presences in the entire drama. Park Jin-young builds this performance entirely on restraint and precision. The things left, unsaid, the feelings carried quietly over scenes that aren't even his. The way the truth of the character is always right there on his face, even when no one is looking at him. There are moments where he's in the background of a scene, and you still find your eyes drifting to him because something real is always happening there. Getting a major acting nomination for a supporting role at the Baeksang is genuinely not normal. It means the industry looked at what he did here and decided it simply could not be left out of the conversation. After watching it, you completely understand why. Now go over the nominees in the Best Actress category. Kicking things off, Shin Hye-soon in The Art of Sarah.
근데요, 저한테 사기당했다고 고소한 피해자가 한 명이라도 있나요? 구매자들은 만나보셨어요? 그들이 피해 진술을 해주던가요?
You already know Shin Hye-sun has range. Mr. Queen proved that beyond any doubt. But The Art of Sarah takes everything fans love about her and pushes it somewhere completely new. She plays Sarah Kim, a luxury brand executive who carries herself like someone who has never once doubted her place in the world. Polished, powerful, completely in control. But here's the thing, Sarah Kim isn't even her real name. She has been living under multiple identities, reinventing herself over and over. Each time the previous version became too dangerous or too painful to maintain. When a body believed to be hers is discovered and the investigation starts pulling back her layers, what it uncovers isn't just deception, it's decades of survival, of building a life on top of erasing yourself. What Shin Hye-sun does here is on another level. She isn't playing one character. She's playing multiple versions of the same woman, each one with completely different energy, different body language, a different way of occupying a room, while still keeping you connected to the same soul underneath all of them. One version is untouchable and ice cold. Another is fractured and desperate. Another is calculating in a way that makes your skin crawl. The ability to move between all of those with full conviction and zero confusion to make you feel the continuity even through all the contradiction is a seriously difficult technical achievement, and she makes it look effortless. Next, and this one is genuinely special, Kim Go-eun and Park Ji-hyun for You and Everything Else.
은중아,
네 부탁은 못 들어주겠다.
A double nomination from the same drama in the same category at the Baeksang. That almost never happens. When it does, it means the committee looked at both of these performances and genuinely could not leave either one out of the conversation. That's how powerful this drama is, and that's how extraordinary these two women are inside it. Kim Go-eun plays Yoo Eun-jung, a television writer who has spent her entire adult life carrying unresolved, complicated feelings toward her best friend. Love, jealousy, resentment, admiration, all of it tangled together and buried deep. Park Ji-hyun plays Cheon Sang-yeon, graceful, warm, the kind of person that others orbit, who receives a terminal diagnosis and asks Yoon-jung to stay by her side, forcing both women to finally confront everything they've been burying for decades. The story is messy in the most honest, human way. Love and resentment in the same breath, a friendship built entirely on things neither of them ever said out loud. Here's why both performances are so extraordinary. Kim Go-eun plays the interior, the grief and envy and complicated love living just under the surface for years, never spelled out, always completely felt. Every silence, every small expression does the work of a monologue. Park Ji-hyun brings this completely different kind of devastation. She's poised and warm on the surface, and then slowly, scene by scene, she cracks open into an honesty that her character has never allowed herself before. Watching Sang-yeon finally become fully herself, right as everything is ending, is one of the most heartbreaking things in the entire drama. Together, these two are absolutely devastating. Their push and pull, their chemistry, the weight of everything unspoken between them feels so specific and so real. The Baeksang didn't just recognize two great actresses. They recognized a relationship that carried an entire drama. And they refused to choose between them. Up next, Lim Yoona in Bon Appetit, Your Majesty.
저한테 비빔밥 만들어준다고 했잖아요. 기다린다면서요. 폭군이 아니라 좋은 왕이 되겠다고 하셨잖아요.
Yoona has been building toward a moment like this for years. And Bon Appetit, Your Majesty is the performance that makes the full case for her as a Baeksang-level actress. Convincingly, she plays Yeon Ji-young, a celebrated modern chef at the peak of her career who gets pulled through a solar eclipse and lands directly in the Joseon era, face to face with a feared king who happens to have the most refined palate in the entire kingdom. The premise is genuinely so fun, and Yoona commits to every bit of the chaos. But here's what makes the performance stand out. She never once lets Ji-young become a punchline. Ji-young is sharp, capable, emotionally grounded. Someone who uses her modern knowledge to navigate court politics, earn genuine trust, and quietly shift the energy of an entire palace. The humor lands because the character is real. And as Ji-young builds an actual life in the past, the question that emerges is genuinely moving. Does she find her way back to the life she had, or stay in the one that started to feel like home? The fact that this drama received both a Best Drama nomination and a Best Actress nod for Yoona tells you exactly what happened here. This wasn't just a fun concept that worked, it was a fun concept elevated by its lead into something genuinely memorable. And the Baeksang is officially putting that on record. And saving the best for last, Park Bo-young in Our Unwritten Soul.
아는데 다시 아무것도 아닌 때로 못 돌아가겠어. 거기밖에 돌아갈 데가 없는 것도 아는데.
Park Bo-young walked into this Baeksang cycle already on a serious winning streak. She took Best Actress at the 2024 Blue Dragon Series Awards for Daily Dose of Sunshine, a performance people were still talking about months after it aired. Our Unwritten Soul had massive shoes to fill, and somehow it didn't just fill them. It made an entirely new argument for why she belongs in the absolute top tier of Korean actresses working today. She plays twin sisters Yoo Mi-ji and Yoo Mi-rae, identical faces, completely opposite lives. Mi-ji is free-spirited, adrift after an injury took her dreams away. Mi-rae is high-achieving, quietly unraveling under pressure she's been pretending she can handle indefinitely. The drama lives or dies entirely on how real and distinct both of them feel. And Park Bo-young doesn't just make them feel like different people, she makes them feel like two completely separate women who happen to share a face. The posture is different. The emotional rhythm is different. The way each sister processes pain, expresses love, and occupies a room is different. And all of it is specific, not performed. And then she has to play each of them pretending to be the other. A performance layered inside a performance, without it ever getting muddled for even a second. She described the experience as shooting two dramas at once, and the fact that you never once feel that strain on screen is the real achievement. Park Bo-young came into 2025 as one of the best. She is leaving it as one of the best, full stop. And that's a wrap. So, who do you think deserves to win this year? I'm honestly excited to see how this all plays out. But here's the real question. Did this award season miss someone? Let me know in the comments who should have been nominated. And before you go, click on this next video to see the actors who got their haters in serious trouble. And yes, we're talking actual jail time.